John Monk. Who is that guy?
So let me briefly say, that we understand the judge's concerns about Alec's mental condition. We're more than happy to comply with his request. We have already been in contact with the folks at the treatment facilities in Georgia and Florida. They'll be providing records to a local psychiatrist. Hopefully we'll have some sort of report for the judge by the end of the week or early next week. Anything else?
Nope.
Questions?
Earliest when you think a bond hearing?
You're going to have to speak louder, please.
What is the earliest that you think that Judge Newman can reconsider?
Sometime next week.
What can you tell us about his mental status? Never will understand it.
His mental status is, good. You know, Jim and I spent a year and a half with him and Maggie and Paul when apparently he was on Oxycontin and opioids, and he seems much more clear-headed today than I've ever seen him.
Has he admitted to this financial crime?
That would be attorney-client. We're not going to comment on that.
And you said that he would right every wrong, including financial wrongs. How does he intend to right this one?
I don't want to comment on that. I'm sorry.
What's your reaction to not getting bond paid? Were you guys expecting him to walk out of here?
Well, we knew it was going to be an uphill battle. Obviously, the public interest and the enormity of the accusations. But we're glad that the judge is concerned about his mental condition, and we think we can get him a relatively clean bill of health by the end of this week, early next week, from a psychiatrist based on the 6 weeks of examinations he's had by mental health experts, both at the detox center and the rehab facility.
What did he say to you after you came after the hearing today?
Next.
Did he have anything to do with his wife's murder?
Did what have anything to do?
Did he?
Absolutely not. No.
You've mentioned in the past you're doing your own investigation.
Yes.
How's that going?
It's going well, thank you.
What about the claims
could you shed some light on, there's so many allegations that he's stolen millions of dollars. Do you have any more clarity on where those millions of dollars have gone or what they were for? We understand he had a drug addiction, but this is millions.
Do we have clarity?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you shed some light on what he was spending millions of dollars on?
No.
Have you or your client been interviewed by federal investigators?
No.
What about the claims that he's been selling off assets the prosecutors made in that hearing, saying that he's selling his boat, he sold his interest in properties?
Not accurate.
In court, you kind of said that it was more of Fleming was to blame rather than Murdaugh.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Truck.
In court earlier, you kind of said that Fleming was more to blame and Murdaugh didn't really.
Well, he wasn't the lawyer. Alec was not the lawyer. Fleming was the lawyer. He's the. If that truck ran over you this afternoon and you hired a lawyer, the lawyer's to look out for you. And if the lawyer gave the money to the truck driver, the lawyer's at fault. Now, certainly, Alec is not denying that if that happened, that he bears some responsibility. But Bland and those guys have already settled the case with Corey Fleming. They're beat. Go your. It's amazing to us that the focus is on just Alec. There are other people who have participated in this process.
What do you think should happen to Corey Fleming?
I don't. The bar and the courts ought to deal with him. I don't have any specific recommendations.
Do you think he'll be immediately released after his evaluation?
It's up to the judge. I'm sorry.
We understand that that supposedly he does want to get the money back into the rightful hands that was taken. Tell me, is there Alec Murdaugh making any plans to repay that money, and how is he doing that?
Well, I think that. Those are compound questions. I think the first thing that has to happen is he needs to get treated for his addiction so that he can focus clear-headed on how to resolve any issues he might have.
Hey, Judge, what do you say about the sweat agent? You guys have said your client's not involved in the Smith's death or Gloria Satterfield, when she tripped over the dogs. But you heard Agent Turner bring up that they have Stephen Smith's case open and Gloria Satterfield, and the judge took that into consideration today was making no bond.
There's no evidence that he was involved in any untoward act towards Gloria Satterfield in terms of her falling down the stairs or Stephen Smith. There's no evidence whatsoever. And I just think Sweat is reacting to sort of the public pressure to open and look at things. And obviously Gloria Satterfield died as a result of that fall. But there's no evidence that anybody pushed her or anybody in any way caused her death.
How soon can we expect another bond hearing? What's your timeline for hoping on that?
What the timeline is, the judge's timeline. We'll get a report done. We'll give it to him, and then he'll decide when to have a hearing.
You guys had said previously that there had been some leads potentially in the murder of his wife and son. Did you go farther into that, and have you passed those on, or where are we with those leads? You said you may have a suspect.
I'm not commenting on that. What else?
You told Craig Melvin weeks ago, though, that you were close to a name for a person of interest. Have you handed over a name to SLED?
We have not.
What does the no bond do for Mr. Murdaugh's rehabilitation?
Well, I mean, he's obviously not going to be getting any drugs, so it's probably helpful from that standpoint. And it just delays him getting back into treatment. We'd like to get him back into treatment as soon as possible.
And you're an attorney, and they said today that it put a black eye on the profession. How do you feel about your profession right now?
Look, you know, I was the solicitor, the DA over here for 12 years. I've prosecuted and defended death penalty cases. The University of South Carolina president, I prosecuted him. I've defended all kinds of folks, death penalty cases included. This is a guy who allegedly committed some criminal acts, who happens to be a lawyer, and used, again, in the in the Satterfield case, he wasn't a lawyer. Now, he may have signed some documents, but the lawyers were responsible. Her lawyers are responsible for making sure that was done correctly. So is it a black eye on the legal profession? I don't think so. I think it is any more than, I'm not going to do that. There's certainly journalists out there who have crossed the line from time to time. Is that a black eye on all of y'all? I don't think so.
How is Mr. Murdaugh's son, Buster, doing? Is he still in communication with his son?
Yes, he's fine. Anything else?
Where will Mr. Murdaugh go after this? If he does get released on bond, where will he go?
We can't tell you.
Does Alex Murdaugh still remain a person of interest in the his wife?
You'd have to ask SLED. I don't know what they're interested in.
All right, last question, guys.
Is Alec going to
What
be
you last
held?
heard remains?
Months and months and months
Is
ago.
Alec going to be held here or down in the Locan?
That's up to SLED. Anything else?
Is there any credibility to Curtis Smith's claims relating to his side of the events in that?
Well, I mean, Curtis Smith said that that Alex Murdaugh was not shot. He wrestled with him. I mean, the reason I went on television last week was to respond to his statement to the Today Show that Alec wasn't shot. They wrestled for the gun, and of course, we produced medical records showing he had 2 bullet holes in his head, fractured skull, brain bleed. Was in ICU for 2 days. So obviously, Curtis Smith's rendition was not accurate.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you.